There we go.
Can I start?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Okay, so my main claim is that animals put in captivity are severely hurt and emotionally and physically harmed. To begin, I believe that animal containment causes emotional harm. There are a couple stories that I wanted to talk about. First, it's about a whale named Telecom and another whale named Orchid. Many of you are familiar with the film Blackfish, and today I'll be speaking a little bit more about how it causes harm and all that stuff. Okay, so first, the animal named Telecom, he has a very sad story. He was one of the largest orcas held in captivity. His story begins by him being ripped away from his family at sea. He was forced to swim along with them as he went to captivity. The first place where he was held was a amusement park called Sealand. In Sealand, he was held in a very small pool. There he was with two other female orcas, and those orcas would bully him, and he would just get frustrated because every time when they were being trained, the times that he wasn't performing the tricks right, they kept food from all of them. So that caused the other orcas to be very, very frustrated with them. And so, because of that, they would bully him. And from then on, he would just be really frustrated with how they were treating him. He would get really hurt, physically damaged. From there, a tragedy happened actually. He was being trained by a lady called Tamri, and there he got severely frustrated again, like I said, and she was killed by Telecom. As she was doing the show, she was dragged all the way down to the tank, and there she was basically drowned to death, and yeah, it was really horrible. Okay, so the next story is about Orchid. He was bred in captivity. The sad thing about Orchid is that everyone around him, or all the whales around him, would die, either because they were sick or just because they were just treated very badly by other orcas. That happens a lot in the aquariums. Many times when they're bred in captivity, they are shielded from their mothers, or they're taken away, separated, which is very horrible for them. It's really hard when you're an orca in an amusement park because all you see is like the flashing lights and all the people, and it's really hard to be held in a very tiny area where there's a lot of free space in the sea. Alright, so my second claim is that animal containment causes depression. Like again, I said many times, animals are separated from their families and so on, and and not only are the animals put in harms, but so are the workers. Telecom has killed 3 people, and yet he is still being put up in shows. He just continually is being sold because of his because he could breed a lot of animals. He's a male, and the sad part about it is that they just keep on showing him in the shows, and behind like all the flashing lights, all the commercials in SeaWorld and Sealand, there is a lot more that is being not presented to the public. It's kind of like Disneyland. where they don't want children to know about, I guess, what happens behind the cameras or the things behind the attractions and all that. It's really hard for these orcas to really experience what life is really about. They are extraordinary creatures that have developed a lot of relationships, and a lot of people think that humans are really unique creatures, but so are other animals, such as orcas. They can communicate, they can do all these other things that people might not be aware of. And so it's really important that all of us know about these situations that are happening in Sealand or SeaWorld, because it's really harmful for the animals, most importantly, but also the people that are training them. And so to conclude all this, people need to be more knowledgeable about how animal captivity is being held. That's it for today. Thank you for listening.
All right, Ashley, you start off with the proposition, which is identified pretty clearly. It is written in multi-part format, so you've got multiple claims built into the proposition. You need to simplify it. There's not really a preview of what the supporting points are going to be, although there is a hint of what some of the subjects are going to be in the supporting points. So I think that's a little bit of a problem. You generally get a pass on the controversy thing, because I think most people probably heard a bit some of the controversy involving the orcas. So you do a good job in the body of the speech setting up some controversy. I thought that was okay. Although you don't identify what the supporting points are going to be at the beginning of the speech, in the body of the speech, I thought you did an okay job signposting them as you got to them. I especially thought that your second point was clearly identified, and so that's good from an organizational structure. You spend a lot of time describing the story of Tillicum, and that's an example to illustrate your point. I don't know how typical Tillicum's experience is. In fact, it sounds like it's pretty unique, since subsequently he's killed 3 people, and you're not talking about any other killer whales who have done such things, at least not in captivity. So there's an advantage to using a story like that has unique characteristics to it, but there's also a little bit of a disadvantage, because then the question becomes, how generalizable is it about these kinds of issues? There's a lot of stuff, though, that's suggested here about how the whales feel, or what their needs are, or how depression affects them, that is not backed by any data whatsoever. There's no science that's presented about the amount of space that they need. I don't get any animal psychologist who's explaining what the orcas' issues are. I don't get any reference to that. It's just you present a lot of conclusions about those things, and I think that's problematic. I think you need to have a little bit more information on this. I didn't hear any particular source site except a reference to the film Blackfish, and other than that, I didn't hear any sources being cited in the presentation, and that's a little bit of a problem. It sounds to me like you needed to maybe practice it a little bit more. You're kind of hesitant and moving along. I know I saw your outline and I sent you a response, but apparently it came in late. There were a couple of things that needed to be changed, but I appreciate you being ready to go today. Thank you very much.